President Feldman, it's been a few weeks since we last checked in with you. Can you talk about some of the progress you've been seeing?
Sure, Erin. Quite a lot has happened over the last month or so. I think a primary thing that's happened is the reorganization, establishment of the University Diversity and Equity Council. That's a body of people from all around the university who have responsibility for organizing and managing a number of initiatives everywhere in the university regarding diversity and inclusion and equity. In addition to that, we've hired a consultant who will be working with us over the next couple of months to design and formulate a new office for a chief diversity officer who will ultimately take responsibility for managing many of these activities and have primary responsibility in the university for this kind of work. Finally, there's been a great deal of effort to develop a statement of university vision and values which will set the tone for the kind of culture we want to have.
So some of the responses to the recommendations from the university's perspective might go farther than what's in the White Report. Can you talk about that?
Sure. In a number of cases, the recommendations in the White Report were fairly narrow in the way they were specified. For example, the report recommended that we identify advisors to work with anybody who believes she or he has been the subject of sexual misconduct by a faculty member. We looked at that recommendation and thought, well, there's no reason to have advisors only in the case of faculty members. There should be advisors for anyone who needs support through this kind of system.
So in your opinion, does the White Report go far enough?
The recommendations address important issues that we do need to think about, but it focused primarily on the kind of case that provoked the report. And we think we want to make sure we address the issues much more broadly so that it affects all the kinds of situations that might arise throughout the university.
So for someone who doesn't live or study or work in an academic environment, can you explain why it might take more time for a university to examine policy and make changes than it would in, say, a corporate environment?
I think there's two primary differences between a university setting and especially a university like the U of R with a medical center as part of it than in a common corporate setting. One important difference is the diversity and complexity of our organization. So we have to consult very broadly and understand the implications of anything we might do and make sure how it applies elsewhere. I think the other difference is governance is different in a university, so that many of the policies we adopt are not simply policies that we in the administration can simply decide on. Instead, we have to consult with faculty from around the university, and that requires a lot of discussion and it takes time.
I've heard some alumni say that the university's response has been very Rochester. What does that mean to you?
I think describing our response to this as a Rochester response includes at least two main things. I think one is the intellectual style we've brought to it, and I think another is how the people involved in it have participated. I think the intellectual style that we have is very analytical, very thoughtful, very careful. The other piece of it is the way the people involved have participated. I've been really delighted by the kind of collaboration, the spirit that people have come to this with. And there's a real commitment on the part of all of them to try to work together to come to the best conclusions we can. So I think the Rochester way is one that will lead us to great success.
I've heard you say that you want to ensure a culture of respect on this campus. What does that mean to you?
I think a culture of respect is one in which people have the opportunity to succeed, to thrive, feel included as part of the culture. We already have that to a great extent, and my goal here is to try to build on that, to make sure that it's more widespread, and that if there's anything that happens that undermines that they feel is holding them back, that it's clear to them how to proceed to make things change.
So in your opinion, what does success look like?
I think that success in this area requires that we have in place a system where people understand widely and deeply the values, the vision of the University of Rochester, that when people behave in ways that don't adhere to those standards, others will speak up and say, that's not the Rochester way. And in those rare cases where something more serious does happen, we need to have in place a fair, clear, and transparent system to adjudicate those cases.
By all indications, the university is performing well. What are you seeing that indicates that?
A number of things that I can identify that indicate the current success of the university. At the undergraduate level for the college, applications were up more than 10% this year, surpassed 20,000 applicants for the first time. Very high quality. The applications are up in all categories, domestic, international, from all around the world. Faculty hiring seems to be going very well. We've made a number of strong appointments in all disciplines throughout the university. And the advancement front, our contributions are up over 20% compared to last year. It seems to be another very strong year. And then in a very different kind of measure of success, the funding for a number of our research projects are looking very good.
There's a lot of great work happening at the university. Can you talk about some of your other priorities?
Sure, there's an awful lot happening all around the university. One area of enormous growth in the university in recent years, and one that I hope to continue during my time as president, is our engagement with the Rochester community. I think the East High initiative is the one that probably captures the most attention there and is in a way the most significant. The Eastman School is a gem. It's one of the world's great music schools, and as part of the celebration of its 100th year, we want to continue its growth. We want to continue to support all its great programs, its wonderful students. At the same time, as part of our efforts to strengthen the humanities at the U of R, we're looking at the possibility of a new theater on the River campus that would house our theater programs and enable us to strengthen, expand the kinds of performances that we have, and better facility for our audiences. In addition to that, at the medical center, there are projects that we want to continue to develop there, looking at emergency room project, a project for orthopedics that would enable us to serve more of the Rochester area community and serve our patients more effectively.
So many people are so committed to the University of Rochester. Can you talk a little bit about the response you've seen from members of the university community?
The response from members of the university community has been extremely gratifying to me. From the faculty senate and other faculty members who've participated in a variety of discussions and committees to try to strengthen policies and programs, undergraduate students and graduate students who've met, who formed committees, who are interacting, coming forward with various proposals and suggestions about things we might do, staff members who are participating in a variety of our committees and organizations and coming through with proposals and ideas. So there's support from throughout the university and a remarkable amount of commitment and enthusiasm, energy around this. It's really another indication of how things work so well here at Rochester, with the community coming together to try to strengthen what's already a strong program.